Deep within every human soul lies a sleeping giant, a force so powerful, so limitless that when awakened, it can transform poverty into prosperity, failure into triumph, and dreams into reality. Yet most people live and die without ever discovering this immense power because they have accepted a false belief that their limits are determined by the world around them. They blame circumstances, education, background, luck, or other people for the boundaries of their lives. But the greatest truth you will ever discover is this: your only limit is you. The walls that confine you are not built by society, they are constructed in your own mind. Every doubt, every fear, every excuse becomes another brick in the prison of limitation. The person who says, "I cannot," and the person who says, "I can," are both creating their destiny through the power of belief. Whatever your mind accepts as truth becomes the blueprint of your future. If you believe you are weak, obstacles will overpower you. If you believe you are capable, obstacles will become stepping stones. The mind is the master key to achievement, and the thoughts you choose today are shaping the life you will live tomorrow. Fear is humanity's oldest enemy. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of poverty. These invisible chains have kept more people imprisoned than iron bars ever could. Fear whispers lies, convincing you that your dreams are too large, your abilities too small, and your chances too slim. But understand this clearly: fear has no power except the power you give it. The moment you confront fear with faith, courage, and action, it begins to dissolve. Every great achiever in history faced doubt, hardship, and defeat, but they refused to surrender to fear. They understood that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else is more important. Success begins the very moment you take full responsibility for your life. When you stop blaming conditions and start commanding your thoughts, you step into the position of power. You cannot control every event that happens to you, but you can control your response, your attitude, and your determination. This is where greatness is born. The strongest oak tree was once a seed that refused to surrender to the storm. Likewise, every champion was once an ordinary person who decided that excuses would no longer control their destiny. Inside you is the ability to rise beyond every setback, every hardship, and every disappointment. Defeat is not permanent unless you accept it. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is often the pathway to it. Every adversity carries within it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity, but only those with disciplined minds can recognize it. The difference between those who win and those who remain trapped is not talent alone, it is persistence. When you refuse to quit, when you keep moving despite pain, criticism, and temporary defeat, you activate a force that cannot be stopped. Your life is shaped by the standards you set for yourself. If you settle for less, life will give you less. If you demand growth, excellence, and victory, your mind will begin searching for ways to create them. The world makes room for the person who knows where they are going. Clarity of purpose is one of the greatest powers you can possess. When your desire becomes stronger than your excuses, your transformation begins. Do not wait for perfect conditions because they will never come. Do not wait for someone to rescue you because your greatest savior is already within you. Right now, at this very moment, you possess the power to change your thoughts, your habits, and your direction. You can choose discipline over distraction, courage over comfort, and action over procrastination. Every decision either strengthens your limitations or destroys them. Remember this forever: the greatest battle you will ever fight is not against the world. It is against the weaker version of yourself. The voice that says, "Quit, wait," or "You are not enough," must be silenced by the stronger voice that declares, "I will persist, I will grow, I will win." Once you conquer yourself, no obstacle outside of you can truly defeat you. You were not created to live confined by fear, doubt, or mediocrity. You were created with the power to think, to dream, to act, and to overcome. The chains are not around your feet, they are in your mind. Break those chains and you break every barrier. Rise above excuses, rise above fear, rise above the person you used to be. Because when you finally understand that your only limit is you unlock a future without boundaries. The moment a human being realizes that the boundaries of their life are self-imposed, a revolution begins within their soul. Most people wander through life as prisoners, never because they are locked by iron chains, but because they are confined by invisible mental barriers. They have been taught to measure themselves by past failures, by the opinions of others, by temporary setbacks, and by circumstances that seem stronger than their will. They look outward for reasons why they cannot rise, while the true battle has always been within. The greatest tragedy is not failure itself, it is living beneath your potential because you never challenged the false limits you placed upon yourself. Within your mind exists a workshop of creation. Every thought you think is shaping your reality. Every belief you accept is either empowering you or weakening you. Thoughts of courage, faith, determination, and abundance build a foundation for greatness. Thoughts of fear, doubt, envy, and hesitation construct a life of struggle and surrender. The mind does not care whether your thoughts are positive or destructive. It simply works to transform them into reality. This is why the person who constantly focuses on obstacles will find obstacles everywhere, while the person who focuses on opportunity will discover doors where others only see walls. You become what dominates your thinking. The world has always belonged to those who dare to believe beyond appearances. Every invention, every empire, every achievement that transformed humanity began first as an idea in the mind of someone who refused to accept limitation. Before victory appears in the outer world, it must first be won in the inner world. If you cannot see yourself succeeding, you will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity. But when you train your mind to see possibility, your actions begin to align with power. Faith is not blind hope. It is a mental state that sees beyond temporary conditions and acts with confidence toward a chosen purpose. You must understand that comfort is often the greatest enemy of achievement. The desire to remain safe, accepted, and undisturbed has buried more dreams than failure ever has. Greatness demands discomfort. It requires you to leave familiar ground, to face uncertainty, to endure criticism, and to push beyond what feels easy. Every new level of success will require a new version of you. You cannot remain who you are and become all you were meant to be. Growth requires transformation, and transformation requires sacrifice. The old habits, weak excuses, and fearful thinking must be left behind if you are to rise. There is a powerful law operating in your life, whether you recognize it or not. What you consistently think about, emotionally embrace, and persistently act upon becomes your reality. If you nourish weakness, weakness expands. If you feed courage, courage strengthens. If you repeatedly tell yourself that your dreams are impossible, your mind will obey and produce reasons to quit. But if you declare with conviction that no obstacle can stop you, your mind will begin discovering solutions that once seemed hidden. The power has always been there. It is your direction that determines the result. Discipline is the bridge between desire and accomplishment. Many people wish for success, but wishing alone changes nothing. Desire without action is merely fantasy. The world rewards those who discipline their thoughts, master their emotions, and commit themselves to consistent effort. Success is not created by occasional bursts of inspiration. It is built through daily habits. The small choices you make when no one is watching are shaping your destiny. Every hour wasted, every excuse accepted, every fear obeyed strengthens limitation. But every disciplined action, every courageous step, every refusal to quit weakens the chains that once held you back. There will be seasons in life when progress seems invisible, when effort feels unrewarded, and when defeat appears stronger than your dreams. This is the moment when most people surrender. But those who achieve greatness understand a profound secret: temporary defeat is often the testing ground of persistence. Life will challenge your commitment before rewarding your faith. The storm does not come to destroy you. It comes to reveal whether your foundation is strong enough to withstand greatness. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and powerful individuals are shaped through adversity. If you persist when others quit, your reward will eventually separate you from the crowd. Never underestimate the destructive power of self-doubt. Doubt is a thief that steals opportunity before action even begins. It causes people to abandon dreams before they have truly tried. It magnifies risks and minimizes potential. Yet doubt can only survive where decision is weak. A definite purpose backed by unwavering commitment destroys hesitation. Once you decide that your mission is non-negotiable, Your energy changes, your focus sharpens. Obstacles become challenges to solve rather than excuses to retreat. Decision creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Association also shapes your limits. The people around you can either fuel your growth or reinforce your fears. If you surround yourself with negativity, limitation begins to feel normal. But if you align yourself with those who think boldly, act courageously, and pursue excellence, your own standards begin to rise. Environment matters because repeated influence shapes belief. Guard your mind carefully. Protect it from voices that feed weakness. Feed it with knowledge, purpose, and empowering thoughts. Gratitude and vision are twin powers that multiply progress. Gratitude keeps your spirit strong by focusing on what you already possess, while vision pulls you toward what you are capable of becoming. A person without vision drifts. A person with vision commands direction. See yourself not as you are now, but as the powerful, disciplined, unstoppable force you can become. Hold that image in your mind until your actions begin to match it. You must also recognize that no one is coming to hand you greatness. Life does not reward waiting. Opportunity often appears disguised as hard work, challenge, or uncertainty. Those who rise are those who act. They do not wait for motivation, they create it through movement. Action defeats fear. Action builds confidence. Action turns dreams into substance. The longer you hesitate, the stronger limitation becomes. The moment you act, you begin reclaiming power. Inside every person lives two identities, one driven by fear and one driven by faith. One seeks comfort, safety, and excuses. The other seeks growth, purpose, and victory every day. Through every thought and every decision, you are feeding one of these identities. The person you become depends on which voice you strengthen most. Feed courage, feed discipline, feed belief. The truth is powerful and unchanging. You are far more capable than you have been led to believe. Your past does not define your future unless you allow it. Your failures do not define your worth unless you surrender to them. Your circumstances do not determine your destiny unless you bow before them. You possess the God-given ability to think, choose, act, and transform. This power cannot be taken from you unless you abandon it. So stand guard at the door of your mind. Reject thoughts that weaken you. Replace fear with faith, excuses with action, and doubt with determination. Refuse to be a prisoner of your former self. Refuse to let temporary conditions dictate permanent limitations. Rise each day with the understanding that every challenge is an opportunity to prove your strength. Because in the end, the greatest mountain you will ever climb is not outside of you, it is within you. Conquer your fears, master your thoughts, discipline your actions, and you will discover that the barriers you once feared were illusions. When you finally rise above the limits in your own mind, you do not merely change your circumstances, you transform your entire destiny. There comes a defining moment in every life when a person must choose whether they will remain a servant to fear or become the master of their own destiny. This choice is rarely announced with trumpets or ceremony. It often appears in silence, in moments of struggle, disappointment, rejection, or deep reflection, when the soul begins to ask a powerful question: am I truly limited by the world? Or have I been limiting myself? The answer to that question can awaken a force within you greater than any obstacle you will ever face. For the truth is simple, undeniable, and life-changing. The greatest barriers are not around you, they are within you. From childhood, many people are conditioned to believe that their potential is determined by external conditions. They are taught to fear failure, to seek approval, to avoid risk, and to lower their expectations according to what others believe is possible. Slowly, without realizing it, they begin constructing invisible chains around their own minds. They trade ambition for security, vision for conformity, and purpose for comfort. They stop dreaming boldly because they have accepted limitation as reality. But limitation is often nothing more than a mental habit, a false belief repeated so often that it begins to feel like truth. Your mind is the greatest kingdom you will ever govern. If fear rules your mind, your life will reflect fear. If doubt controls your thoughts, your actions will weaken. But if faith, courage, and purpose become the rulers of your inner world, your outer world will begin to transform. Every great victory in life begins first with self-mastery. Before you can conquer poverty, you must conquer scarcity in your thinking. Before you can conquer failure, you must conquer fear. Before you can build success, you must first build the mindset capable of sustaining it. The difference between extraordinary individuals and ordinary ones is not always intelligence, background, or luck. More often, it is the refusal to accept self-imposed limits. Great achievers understand that circumstances may influence them, but circumstances do not define them. They know that while they may not control every storm, they can control the strength of their sails. This understanding gives them power. They become architects of possibility instead of victims of condition. Within you right now exists untapped energy, dormant talent, and unrealized greatness. Many people underestimate themselves not because they lack ability, but because they have never demanded enough from themselves. They live as though they are waiting for permission to become powerful, when in reality, power begins the moment they decide to claim responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden, it is liberation. The day you stop blaming your past, your environment, or other people is the day you begin taking ownership of your future. The human mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant and nourish will grow. Plant excuses and you will harvest stagnation. Plant discipline and you will harvest progress. Plant fear and limitation will spread like weeds. Plant belief and possibility will flourish. This is why guarding your thoughts is one of the most important responsibilities you will ever have. Every negative thought entertained without challenge becomes a silent architect of defeat. Every empowering thought repeated with conviction becomes a builder of destiny. There is immense power in decision. Most people drift through life uncertain, hesitant, and reactive. They wait for ideal conditions before they act. But those who rise above limitation understand that decision creates momentum. When you decide with absolute certainty that you will no longer live beneath your potential, something extraordinary happens. Your mind begins organizing itself around solutions. Opportunities become more visible. Courage increases, energy sharpens. Why? Because a committed mind is no longer negotiating with fear. It is moving with purpose. Purpose is one of the strongest forces on earth. A person with a clear purpose can endure hardship that would break someone without direction. Purpose gives pain meaning. It transforms struggle into growth. It turns obstacles into education. Without purpose, even small setbacks feel overwhelming. But with purpose, adversity becomes part of the process. Know what you want. Define it clearly. Burn it into your mind until your excuses have no room to survive. Understand this. Every level of growth requires a battle with the old version of yourself. The person you are today may have habits, beliefs, and patterns that cannot carry you where you want to go. You cannot rise while clinging to the mindset that keeps you small. The weak version of you will seek comfort. The stronger version will seek transformation. One says, "This is too hard." The other says, "This is making me stronger." One seeks excuses. The other seeks answers. Your destiny is shaped by which version you feed daily. Persistence is the weapon that destroys limitation. Many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they quit too soon. They mistake temporary defeat for permanent failure. They do not realize that life often tests your commitment before rewarding your effort. Success frequently lies just beyond the point where most people give up. When you persist through criticism, hardship, and uncertainty, you develop an inner power that cannot be easily shaken. Persistence is proof that your vision is stronger than your fear. Do not fear failure. Fear wasted potential. Failure is often a teacher disguised as disappointment. Every setback carries instruction. Every mistake contains wisdom. Every loss can become fuel if you choose to learn rather than surrender. The strongest individuals are not those who never fall. They are those who rise each time with greater understanding. Failure only becomes final when you accept it as identity. You must also be cautious of the influence around you. The voices you listen to become the thoughts you think. If you constantly absorb negativity, doubt will feel natural. If you surround yourself with small thinking, greatness will feel unrealistic. But when you expose your mind to courage, wisdom, and bold action, your standards rise. Protect your mental environment as fiercely as you would protect your future, because they are deeply connected. One of the most dangerous lies ever believed is, "I have time." Time is not guaranteed. Dreams postponed too long often become regrets. Action delayed by fear becomes a life half-lived. The perfect moment does not arrive. You create it through decision and movement. Begin now. Start where you are. Use what you have. The path to greatness reveals itself through action, not hesitation. Inside you is the ability to rewrite your story. No matter how many times you have doubted yourself, no matter how long fear has ruled, no matter how many setbacks you have faced, a new chapter can begin the moment you decide that your life will no longer be governed by limitation. You are not chained to your past unless you choose to remain there. You are not defined by weakness unless you continue surrendering to it. Rise with boldness, think with power, act with discipline. Refuse to let fear dictate your future. The person you are becoming is created by the choices you make today, not the excuses you made yesterday. Tear down the walls of self-doubt brick by brick. Challenge every false belief that says you are not enough. Replace hesitation with courage, procrastination with action, and insecurity with relentless self-belief. Because the truth remains eternal, your only true opponent has never been the world. It has been the smaller version of yourself, the fearful, doubtful, hesitant self that accepted limits without question. Defeat that version, and you unlock a force within capable of extraordinary achievement. You were born with more power than fear wants you to discover, more potential than doubt wants you to believe, and more greatness than circumstances can suppress. Break free from the prison of self-imposed limitation, and you will realize that the door was never locked. It was your own hand holding it closed. Once you release fear, claim responsibility, and walk boldly toward your purpose, there is no limit left to stop you, because the moment you conquer yourself, you become truly unstoppable. The greatest transformation in human life does not begin when circumstances change, it begins when thought changes. A person may live for years surrounded by opportunity and still remain trapped, not because the doors are closed, but because they have convinced themselves they are incapable of walking through them. Others may begin with little, few resources, little support, many obstacles, and still rise to extraordinary heights because they refuse to surrender to the limitations accepted by those around them. This reveals one of life's most powerful truths: success or failure is often born long before results appear, in the hidden workshop of the mind. Your mind is not merely a place where thoughts pass, it is a force of creation. It is the control center of your destiny. Every repeated thought becomes a command. Every belief becomes a direction. Every dominant emotion shapes action. If you consistently tell yourself that life is unfair, that your goals are too distant, or that others are more fortunate, your mind will obey by seeking evidence to confirm those beliefs. But if you declare that challenges are temporary, that growth is possible, and that persistence will find a way, your mind begins aligning itself with power. The battle is always won or lost internally before it is seen externally. Many people spend their lives searching for external enemies, never realizing that indecision, fear, and self-doubt have been their greatest opponents all along. The enemy is often not lack of opportunity, but lack of belief. Not lack of resources, but lack of resourcefulness. Not lack of talent, but lack of disciplined action. The human spirit becomes powerful the moment it accepts full responsibility for its own development. Responsibility is the dividing line between weakness and power. Excuses keep you in chains. Responsibility hands you the key. Every excuse has a hidden cost. Every time you say, "I can't because of my past," you surrender power. Every time you say, "I'll start when conditions improve," you delay destiny. Every time you allow fear to decide your actions, you strengthen limitation. But when you begin saying, "I will find a way, I will adapt, and I will persist," your life begins to shift. The language you use internally matters. Words are not empty. They influence belief, and belief influences behavior. It is also essential to understand that no one becomes powerful by accident. Strength is developed through challenge. Confidence is built through action. Discipline is forged through repeated choices. A muscle grows by resistance, and so does character. The difficulties you face today may be preparing you for responsibilities your current self is not yet strong enough to carry. What feels like opposition may actually be preparation. But only those who persist long enough discover this truth. Most people underestimate the compounding power of small daily decisions. Greatness is rarely one giant leap. It is usually the result of consistent choices made when motivation fades, choosing discipline when distraction calls, choosing faith when fear whispers, choosing effort when comfort seduces. These small victories may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they become the architecture of an extraordinary life. Success is not mysterious. It is often the predictable result of repeated constructive behavior. You must become selective about what influences your mind. Just as unhealthy food weakens the body, unhealthy thinking weakens ambition. Constant negativity, comparison, and fear-based thinking drain your power. Fill your mind instead with thoughts that strengthen vision. Study success. Observe resilience. Feed your spirit with purpose. What you repeatedly expose yourself to will shape your standards, and your standards will shape your destiny. There is also immense danger in waiting for confidence before taking action. Confidence often comes after action, not before it. Many people remain frozen because they believe they must first feel ready. But readiness is often created through movement. Action builds certainty. Action reveals capability. Action silences fear. You do not become fearless and then act. You act, and fear gradually loses control. Never forget that your greatest asset is not your present condition, but your capacity for growth. A person committed to growth can recover from failure, adapt to change, and rise from defeat stronger than before. But a person trapped in excuses remains stagnant, no matter how favorable their circumstances. Growth requires humility, the willingness to learn, improve, and confront your own weaknesses honestly. The world often rewards those who refuse to be discouraged by temporary appearances. When others see impossibility, visionaries see potential. When others retreat, leaders advance. This is not because they are free from fear, but because they have developed something greater than fear: purpose. Purpose gives courage direction. Purpose turns pain into fuel. Purpose keeps a person moving when emotion would otherwise quit. You must decide that your life will not be measured by the fears you obeyed, but by the vision you pursued. Do not shrink your dream to fit your current comfort zone. Expand yourself until you are capable of carrying your dream. There is greatness within you that may never emerge unless challenged. There are abilities within you that comfort will never reveal. Pressure, discipline, and bold action often uncover strengths you did not know you possessed. Remember that self-mastery is the highest form of power. To rule your thoughts when doubt appears, to command your actions when laziness tempts, to remain focused when distractions surround you. This is true strength. The person who conquers themselves becomes dangerous to limitation. Once your mind is disciplined, your spirit determined, and your purpose clear, external obstacles lose much of their power. So refuse to live as though you were designed for less. Refuse to make peace with average when greatness calls from within. Refuse to allow yesterday's fears to control tomorrow's possibilities. Stand firmly in the knowledge that the same mind that once created limitation can also destroy it. The same person who once doubted can decide to believe. The same light that felt confined can become extraordinary through renewed thought and relentless action. You are not here merely to exist within boundaries built by fear. You are here to think boldly, act courageously, and rise continually. Your future is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for decision. Break the habit of limitation, and you break the cycle of mediocrity. Strengthen your mind, discipline your actions, and awaken the power that has always been within you. For in the end, the ultimate truth remains. When you stop being the obstacle, you become the force.